That was the first natural.
The first natural.
Pretty awesome. We might have a show coming up.
Yeah, well, that was at Ophelia's. All right, so we are. I'm been recording already, and I like the naturalness of the conversations and stuff. And so, but the podcast is called Wear the Crown. It's me and my man Blood Pressure. Got a good guest on today.
Welcome,
a good friend of mine, Congo
everybody
Sanchez.
tuning in.
Yeah, my brother Congo Sanchez joining us for Jeffrey.
Yeah,
Congo.
let's
get
start
that
over.
straight. Let's get that straight. So like, how I met Jeffrey here is. At Native Roots, I worked at Native Roots, and we were doing an event in Aspen, which was the iMeds house, where we were, having people sign waivers. We brought I don't even know how many pounds of weed and hash, and had like an open bar, and all you had to do is come sign a waiver and come in the house, and they booked Jeffrey for DJing, and this is how I met. And one morning, this is how I was like, I know this dude is cool, is because I was running my playlist off my phone, and it was all heavy reggae tracks. And he came up to me one morning, and he goes, "Bro, your playlist." He's like, "I like it." And I was like, "Word," you know what I mean? Somebody that appreciated all.
I'm like, "You want to spin? Because they got me on like all day, every day. You can take whenever you want."
It was, so it was 3 days, that event, and it was wild. And most of the time, I stayed in the house rolling joints, just handing out joints to people all night. That was like what I did, because I was getting paid. I was on hourly, so I was like, oh shit.
Probably made more than I did.
Yeah, I try to make, I got some tips and stuff like that, but I didn't go enjoy any of the festivities. And then the next year we did it, and they booked you again, and this is when we linked up with Bali. And I believe, I don't know who else performed. I think Grizz maybe, or something.
Yeah. Snoop, Grizz, Wiz Khalifa.
Yeah. And so Jeffrey goes, "Hey man," he's like, "Will you DJ a set or two for me tonight?" And I was like, "Sure, man." And I went out there, and man, I must have ran a set for like 2 hours, to the point it was his time. He was supposed to come out and come on like 30 minutes. I was already 30 minutes deep into his set, and I was like, where is he? Like, I was running out of tracks. I was running out of tunes, bro. I was like, where is he? Like, I was like, done. You know what I mean? And I think we got Thai food that night. We both shared. We called up and ordered up Thai food, and split some food. And you were like in the back, I think, crashed out. I don't know where you were, but you came out, and then and then you killed it. I was like, thank God he came.
Was the I know exactly what you're talking about. It was in the house.
That was the IREC house.
In the house where the pool was.
Where the pool was, in the hot tub. And
the first one was up on Red Mountain.
Yes.
Where Danny was in the kitchen, and we had John Hunt as our security guy. Remember that?
Yep.
Who now has Hunt's Harvest up in, I forget where he's at. He's up north, though. Like, and, north of Fort Collins.
That was the time I saw Johnny Bowen, so Pat Bowen's son. I think he was there.
I remember.
Yeah, he was there, and this guy took a dab that, like those dab videos that you see, like somebody drop the dab into the nail, and it's like a foot long. This dude did that, and he did that. It was like 3:00 in the morning. I was just watching him. We were all smoking around the table. And I watched him take this dab so hard, didn't take a breath, and then somebody passed him the blunt, and he was like, not without even coughing once, bro. I was like, God.
No dabs for me,
bro. That
Only
was
Ronnie's bubble hash.
Yes,
and
I'm so sorry.
Natural.
Yeah, man. I was gonna bring you guys some, and I left it in the other car. I'm getting the brakes fixed on it.
All good.
But I'm gonna get with you. We'll get.
I'm still high from the last one.
So the whole name thing is, I've only known you as Congo. So,
okay.
And that's like my brother. You know what I mean? I'm
Congo,
like Congo.
Congo is ever eternal.
You know what I mean? But as things have progressed since then, because that's when you had the long dreads, and then you cut the dreads.
So the Congo thing, it came about as like, look, my band was Congo Sanchez, but before it became a band, it was a solo project.
Yeah.
And I had the paddle on one side, and
Congo
the whole
bro.
thing, and so it was, not that it isn't, but it was me, it was my thing.
Yeah.
And as things progressed, and I turned Congo Sanchez into a band, and it became a thing with three of us, and it was like Highly Flex and Congo. It worked. The three of us. And
how did you guys meet?
Flex and I had known each other for years. We had known each other. Feel free to whatever.
Yeah.
Flex and I had known each other since the first show I did with my band post-college called Mojai in D.C.,
Okay.
Flex Matthews showed up, and my boy tapped me on the shoulder, and he's like, yo, do you realize who's here?
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, no. Like, what's up, you know? Flex Matthews is here. And I'm like, oh, shit. Like, you know, and I'm like, I knew him as like a rapper, but he is like, at that point, he was like kind of at the top of his battle rap game around town. And so like he was freestyling all over the place and just like pop, Flex. Like, and he's, you know, Flex has got so much energy.
Oh, bro.
And so we became friends then, and basically everything I ever did in DC, Flex was a part of it. You know, CI, Mojai, he would sing with the Funk Art, everything. And then Congo Sanchez came about, and we toured hard for about 4 or 5 years, and then I moved here, and you know, I kind of got to the point where I was like, all right, you know, this thing, we've got our networks here and there, but like DC wasn't doing it for me anymore, and like the Thievery studio was closed up, you know, like our little playground to go make records and produce and get music out to the world was trimming back, because Thievery, you know, they wanted to just focus on putting out their own records, and they had all these record deals with a bunch of artists that they were putting out. And in the transition from when they used to be able to guarantee $35,000 to Borders only just to get CDs in Borders shelves, Borders would give him $35,000 just for putting out a record. Like, that's an advance, you know. You know you're going to get that back. And so that when the transition happened from like their physical deals to digital, you know, it was just like for everybody else, you know, it was like shit, you know, kind of back to
everybody's got to
look after myself now, because, you know, we're really the only ones in the label that are really have the huge international impact.
That makes sense now. I could see like with CI, and because a lot, you guys were all like such a cohesive. That's the one thing about a Thievery show is like I used to see so many people more people backstage than probably were in the front row of the show. You know, well, not to say
trust
that,
me,
but
I know that
so
story.
many people backstage. You're just like, who is in the band?
It's
here?
a circus.
But it's a good time. You know what I mean? You can tell it's all love, and it's like a cohesiveness.
Totally.
And that makes sense with you going solo and the whole like really pushing you guys highly, and Flex and I mean highly voice killer, and
awesome.
Flex rhymes, you know, killer. And
yeah.
you watching you work is just like you know what I mean, you could tell it's something that you're passionate about.
Totally.
You guys together.
Yeah. Now the three of us, we just did a show at the Kennedy Center a couple months ago. They opened a new wing. I should probably talk over here. They opened a new wing, and Eric from Thievery curated the music the weekend that Thievery was playing the thing. So the night that we played, he got all the band members to do a project on one stage or the other that wanted to. And Congo played, and man, when we got back together, it was just like, you know, we haven't, and it's not like we got back together, but we hadn't played a show probably since like June or March. You know, now we're kind of on like 10 shows a year instead of 100. But that's because we're kind of going for the smarter, not harder approach. Like, we've done the Thievery, I mean, we've done the touring, like, hard. Those guys don't have their license, so I have to drive every mile.
Oh.
And I booked the shows, managed everything, and it got to the point where I was like, all right, look, I got to figure out a way to get a big tune or to get, you know, some sort of 9 million views, you know, something that's a little more like, you know, in the moment of the times of how people are finding out about
staying
stuff
current
versus like hitting, you know, pubs for anywhere from like 15 people to 150 people in every town an hour away, and just every night, you know, like we did that, which is great. And, you know, everybody's waiting for us to put something out, which is awesome. You know, the thing about the internet is it's always there.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, if Congo was like, bam, big tune, everybody that ever saw us would be like, sweet, this is awesome, you know. So I don't feel like, you know,
and well, you know, with the combination of the three of you guys, it's such a, and not to say you alone, but just the combination, it really crosses a lot of barriers. I feel like with sound, you know, you got hip hop, you've got like almost R&B and soul, and then you've got like this new age, you know, rhythmics that
reggaeton type of stuff,
which is it's dope. So I feel like you know, for you alone with the rhythms and all that, bro, you should be able to, if you're focusing more on that now, be able to help propel that. And, with the podcast, here we are. That's what, you know, with the new platforms that are getting your information out there.
You know, I mean, it's just a whole nother game that Congo, when I started it, I felt like I was kind of like when I put out my first Congo Sanchez track was 2012. Thievery posted, hey, our new drummer has a new project, blah, blah, blah. Boom. Instant, like, tens of thousands of views,
Yep.
you know, downloads, this and that. 2 weeks later, Facebook went public, which means we are now filtering everything. And if you want to get to your fans, you got to pay for it.
Wow.
So Thievery's 550,000 people that would instantly see anybody in their camp that they were promoting turn to, now you need viral activity to show more people. And so it was kind of just like bad timing.
Yeah.
You know, because like I was like thinking, okay, here's the model. This is
bubble.
what everybody's doing. This is what Drake's doing. This is what Jay-Z's doing. They get these big people, and it's still the model, but now you have to pay more for it. And once Thievery started having to pay for things, and realizing, oh, we need to focus on what we're posting because our posts need to get the most traction. We can't be posting about everybody's stuff anymore. And so like the model of the label kind of, and rightfully so. I mean, that, you know, we all had to figure out the new game.
Monetized.
You know?
Yeah, and that's, I mean, that for me too. I mean, I don't have a large following, but I do, you know, realize its value as far as like, you know, influencing and getting deals and getting hooked up, and even, you know, if it leads to a check or whatever. And I feel like my traction's been slowed down. Like even with like some of the posts I try to do like on a sponsor with, like I got the rolling papers, I get shut down every time for some reason. It's like, oh, this is not what our audience is, you know, want to see, or what we're accepting. Like even when you go to pay for it, I get shut down. Like they don't even let my post go.
Oh, so they don't let you promote.
And I don't know if it's
ganja.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's because I've tried to put it where the age bracket's like old enough, you know, where it's not anybody under 21 that I'm advertising to, but people that are older. But I don't know. But I do feel like my traction is slowed down for whatever reason.
You know what's interesting? I was, where was I just, where they have fully legalized weed.
That's a good thing.
I think it was San Diego.
You got to think about how
it was San Diego. Yeah, exactly. It's pretty much everywhere.
Things are getting
if
better.
I'm going there, if I'm not going there, you know, chances are, if it's not legal, I probably won't go. No, I'm just kidding. But you got to be careful because you get off the tour bus and you're in North Carolina. You step out, you're smoking a joint. You're like, fuck, I'm in North Carolina, man. I better be careful, you know?
Yeah.
Because you kind of forget where you are. But no, I was in San Diego and I was talking with my Somalian driver. Oh, no, Eritrean. He's Eritrean. And, you know, we're kind of, oh yeah, DC, blah, blah, blah. I speak a little Amharic, a little Tigrinya. And he's like, man, I think, you know, the legal weed thing is great, but he's like, I don't want to see billboards for it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's like, because why, you know, if people choose to do it, that's fine. But why do you have to promote this thing that, like, you know, is mind altering or psychoactive? And I'm kind of like, man, I guess they don't advertise for cigarettes anymore, you know. But beer, you see beer all over, you know.
Yeah,
this bud's for you. Grab some buds or whatever, you know. And it's
yeah,
like,
well, it's the same thing like when they changed the regulations on like edibles and things from looking like actual candy bars and having like cartoon characters on there. You kind of get it. You're like, all right, I can see.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
That's kind of a little bit. I don't know if I want some kid going and picking up an edible. And it's
totally.
Like, but at the same time, where's the freedom to be able to advertise and promote
and you know, economic freedom of using the banks. I mean, there's a long way to go still, definitely, you know. Definitely. But nonetheless, you know, we're grateful for how far we've come since we were kids.
Oh yeah. It's like my kids don't understand. Will never understand like
which is good.
Which is the hardships and the struggle to get weed legalized. We're over that hurdle.
Yeah.
In some places again.
Or just to not get arrested when you're a kid and have it feel like it's going to ruin your life.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Because everybody's smoking pot.
Oh, bro, I got busted with. I had purchased 9 grams of hash. I had 2 ounces of weed on me, and I had just got done selling a bunch of like an ounce to a bunch of kids. There's about 8. There's about 8 kids around. We're across the street from our high school. Like literally, in like there was apartment complexes that we kind of wove through, and we were in the back, and the school's like literally like 150 feet away. But we're all blazing up, and the whole reason we got caught is because the area we were smoking in, the guy who owned the apartment had weed plants growing there, and my friends had came and cut down his plants like a month prior, and so I was back there dishing off weed to everybody, and I had all this hash, and all of a sudden, assistant principal, 4 security guards, they all come up and bust us all, and And I stand up real quick and I throw what I have in my back pocket. I throw it behind the girl I'm standing next to. And the principal comes up. He's like, oh, look what we got. He didn't want to touch it. He grabbed it with like a pen. Picked it up. He didn't want to touch it. He's like, he grabbed it with a pen. He's like, look at how much we got here.
We got some devil's cabbage.
Yeah, exactly. And so then we all went in the office and we sat there for like 3 hours. And I was the last person to leave. And they got me in the room and they're like, yeah, everybody said it was you. Everybody said that it was all yours and that was you. And I just deny. And I got out of there with like a ticket for a bowl. And and like community service, but I was so scared to go home, bro. Like, my mom's a nurse, and like she works like 14-hour days, and this is in Boulder too. I went to Fairview for 2 years.
That's why you got away with it,
and
because you lived in Boulder.
Nah, bro, and
that's getting away with it.
Yeah,
you would have done that shit where I'm from. You would have been locked the fuck up.
That's true. Very true.
Fuck up. I went down for
that is true.
2 ounces of swag. Because it was homecoming and we were going to roll a bunch of blunts, right?
Yeah.
And, you're from Colorado. I'm from D.C. I'm in the burbs. You got to work your way into getting the good weed.
Same here. I lived in the city most of my life. And then when coming to Boulder, it was like, that my mom moves up here.
Heady
all of a sudden you're getting different KBs, Con Buds, and BCs, and all of a sudden the grade's going up and it ain't coming out of a gas tank anymore. Yeah. You're like, actually somebody's cultivating this stuff.
Yeah.
So, I get it, bro.
So we bought, probably 2 ounces of swag for like $100 or something. And then we had it all in a bag, and we took all the seeds and stems out, and so we got a bag of seeds sitting there. We got a bag of swag sitting there. I got a case of beer in the trunk. I got a bong, and I had just got out of the marching band game, the football game, because I was in the marching band. I was the drum captain,
Yeah.
all this stuff. Yeah, it was marching band is an amazing experience in itself, but. So I'm like, I'm not high. I maybe got high before I went to marching band, but I'm not high anymore. I don't smell like weed, but all my boys are like,
cash.
Yo, bro, this swag is so tired, man. Like this type of shit. So I'm like, all right, whatever. Let's go get in the car. We'll go burn where we always burn. And I got like a taillight out.
That's all it takes.
And it was homecoming, so there's cops everywhere. Of course, I went to the spot where everybody's at to pick up my friends. So we got nabbed, and then like the cops like I'm gonna have to search you. Your car really smells like marijuana. And we're fumbling around when we get pulled over. They got guns drawn on us. Put your hands up, all this shit. And I'm like, oh fuck, long story short, we got arrested, and he didn't call my house until 6 p.m. the next day. Right when I'm like in my suit, he sent me home because I was sober. He took my beer, took my weed, took my bong, took everything. And he calls my house the next day, 6 p.m. And I'm like getting ready to get in the limo and go to homecoming, Yeah. Hello, is Mr. or Mrs. Franca there? I'm like, no. My mom's like, yes. On the, because landlines, you can all be on the same phone.
She's on the other line. You're like, no, nobody's there.
I'm doing my best to like get the tears going. I'm like trying to cry, but I'm like not, and I'm just like faking it, and I'm like shit, And like, but anyways, I'm dealing with some stuff with younger family members of mine now that are getting into cannabis, and I'm like, look, if you got your shit together and you've got, everything's cool, like I'm a supporter of whatever you want to do in a responsible way, but I'm not a proponent of using cannabis as a shield or a mask or a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
It to me is it's healing from the inside out, not numbing. It's not a numbing agent for me.
A suppressant. It's a release.
And I've kind of been, I feel like I'm going to have that talk with maybe some younger family members of mine, because I'm like, look, guys, like, I just want to make sure that, you're thinking that this is inspiring you to think about your future, because you might not be right where we need you to be at right now with what you're doing with where you want to be in the future. Just like you got to have these talks, because it's like everything, you don't want to. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to go down a road and THC reacts to everybody differently, and it's like, look, there's times in my life where less was better. There's times in my life where less was more. You know what I mean? But
No, I totally
Anyways,
agree. As I've gotten older, and I'm birthed from that whole like weed being legal and being able to legalize, and I advertise and actually capitalizing on who I am.
Mm-hmm.
But as my kids have gotten older, it's I had to rethink. I have to deal with my daughter trying to pinch my weed, and you know what I mean. I visibly know, and
you have to find your stance.
Yeah,
right?
you gotta pick a position, and as much as I am an advocate and a representative of it, I represent it, is I want to be a good role model as well. And that's what we've talked about here on the podcast before, is like that with guests that we had on, is that being someone who can explain how cannabis works, how it works in all different elements from the healing process, and being able to apply it in that way and not overdoing it, and not like you said, numbing it or using it as a mask, but actually knowing how to use it and when to use it. And those are things that I try to install in my kids. That's important, because when they go to high school and they're like, and I got my own rolling papers, you know what I mean? So they're like stealing my papers and going to school, like, check out my dad. I know they are. And they use it to their advantage socially to be accepted with their friends. Now, what I have the issue with is when they're doing dabs, or getting involved in things that they have no knowledge about. So when they come home, it's my job to be like, no, this is how it's used. This is why it's used. Don't use it until this age. I don't care what your friends say. You know what I mean? And
you got to develop still.
And here I am going to work growing 1,500 plants, every day. And so there is like a fine line.
It's a challenge, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing with social media too, is that I don't like the whole vanity promotion of yourself so much. And now that when we get back to this whole monetizing of the social media and things like that, you're forced to. You're steered in these directions that this is what moves. If it's not like your posts of your family aren't moving, nobody's gonna support that or back that. It's the post of you standing in front of 100 marijuana plants that all of a sudden it gets traction, and you know what I mean?
Or holding a bud like underneath it, like a dare sign or something.
Yeah, and that's what I mean is like
it's like rebels get attention.
Exactly. So
I put up a thing. There was I was the same San Diego trip. It was like we went to what is it? Cordoba Island. What's the island that's right there? Coronado Island.
Okay, Coronado. Yeah.
And it's like basically military-based Disneyland type of thing. A lot of soldiers walking around. It's close to Miramar. It's like the whole kind of Top Gun.
Yeah.
Naval area, and so like it's pretty
conservative.
And they got a little piece of grass, between like a median or whatever. And it's like, please stay off the grass. I'm just like, I'll lay on the grass, right by the sign. It's like I never would have thought to lay on the grass in public, right here in the middle of two streets. But you put a sign telling me not to do it, I'm gonna do it.
Exactly.
Anyways, but got all the likes in the world,
Yeah, but
all 230.
Not saying that. Yeah, not saying that. I don't want to post pictures of my kids, but with me, I've got like this barrage of fake accounts trolling, using my pictures, using pictures of my family. I've even traced like pictures that they've gotten off of Facebook of my dog when it was a puppy. And I've had people like, even one guy like got the account reported, deleted it, and I got messaged, and he was like, yo man, I'm from Cameroon. I just want to let you know that I'm the guy who had the fake account of you, and I really need help trying to feed my family. I've gotten several of like, they're African cats that
That's
are like
crazy.
You know how they say those Nigerians come up with scams and schemes? Like literally, they're African. I had one brother hit me up. He was like, yo man, he had my phone number. I was like, how'd you get my phone number? He's like, I saw it on Facebook on your t-shirt account, and I didn't even realize I had my number locked in, right?
I didn't know mine was on Facebook either.
Right, and he calls me up or he texts me. He's like, yo, man, I'm waiting on that package. And I was like, what are you talking about, bro? I was like, how'd you get my number? He's like, I got it off of Facebook. Is this you? And he sent me a screenshot, sent me a picture. And I was like, yeah, that's my t-shirt account. And he goes, well, I met up with somebody, and and my family is in Boulder. My parents live in Boulder, and this guy linked me to you, which I thought was you, some account. And I sent $800 to him, and I'm waiting on a package right now. Bro, I check my emails that are linked to my Instagram because I had to like set my emails, and I don't ever check it. Went to go check it. I had like 5-6 people hitting me up like, yo, man, I got ripped off. I sent $1,200. I sent $600. And I've reported it so much to Instagram. Within this year, it's probably at least, I want to say 50 to 60 accounts I've reported in the whole year time frame. But that's how much that these people are using my likeness and image to troll people.
That's crazy.
I had somebody hit me up and linked me on a Twitter account that has over 5,000 followers using my face. And like pretend, they don't use my name, but they're using my face and pretending to be me. And so much I've contacted a lawyer to try to figure out what I can do. And it's to the point where it's jeopardizing my name and career and the way I move.
Not to mention, once somebody figures out a way to actually pin it on you, somebody's going to be con for your 10 grand.
I went and did a consultation out in Monterey Bay, out in Cali. Went and made some hash. Some guy was trying to get a license, or he had a license and was looking to get people involved. So I went out there for a couple of days and made some hash. But when I first got there, I freaked. Like I got out there, I was at the airport. He's like, "Yeah, I'm right down the street picking you up now." And we got in the car, and like he's driving across the coast. And I started sweating, and I was like, "What if this is like some guy that I ripped, like that fake account ripped off, and he's got me out here now wanting his money or something?" I started sweating, bro. And then he's like, "Oh, I made a wrong turn," and we were driving the wrong way for like 30 minutes. And I was like, "What?" I started really sweating it. So that type of thing too. Like if I go places and somebody recognizes me for whatever reason, or they know I'm gonna be there, it's kind of scary. So
yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, just the internet in general. So like with my kids, I try not to post so much of my family anymore, and like my kids and tagging them.
And that's fine, because
those type of things.
You have your personal space for that, and it's not, the internet isn't for all that. I mean, like I was just telling him, I don't know if you know the story. My brother passed away.
No. So
my brother passed away in 2011 from cancer. He fought for 6 years. Do you remember when I cut my dreads?
Yeah.
The Dreads was
for
him and for a foundation that my mom started with her friends in the Ronald McDonald House. When he got diagnosed, there was no ribbon for his cancer. There was no foundation. They call it orphan cancers. So they started a thing called Band of Parents for neuroblastoma. And that ended up being something that could get more attention if they just focus more on childhood cancer. So the yellow ribbon, it's childhood cancer. Band of Parents morphed into that.
Okay.
And how do we get on this? I cut my dreads, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
2011.
Yep.
Oh, the family Facebook thing. Oh, 2 days ago was my brother's birthday.
Okay.
And
respect.
And I have this thing in my head. It's like, do I make a post, or do I keep it to myself, keep it personal, and celebrate with my friends? And I've never been one to make a post about, oh, rest in peace, this is the day you passed, or this is your birthday.
Something that personal.
Yeah, it's just something like where it's like, look, if people know that about me and they want to reach out, I'm here. If I went out to dinner with my niece, lives here, and a cousin of mine and my girlfriend, and we went out to dinner, had some wine, celebrated, toasted to those that are no longer with us and all that, and like. But there's something about social media where it's like, if you do invest your emotions in it, it gives back to you. People want to know about your life.
Yeah, there can be some positive.
But it's not for everybody, I was just telling him, and actually, it's kind of serendipitous that we're doing this. Do you have a relationship with Julian Marley?
Do I, Julian? No, I've met Julian.
Yeah, I met him a couple times. I think I might have seen a photo with you guys.
Yeah, I met him at they did a Sensi event here in town, and then
he was in town one time. I hung with him at Rhett's house one time.
Okay, yeah, I remember. I think that was back in the day.
Yeah, sure. It might have been X Games or 420 or something.
Yep. Yeah, no, I remember he was headed over to Rhett's house before a show or something like that.
Yeah, because Bali and the Marley thing,
Yep.
Yeah. So, anyways, friend of mine hit me up, who actually a bandmate of ours just passed away yesterday.
Respect.
Or maybe this morning, but yeah, more cancer.
Wow.
And Josh was in Fort Collins for a while. He went back home. It was just But anyways, friend of mine's like, hey, my neighbor's Julian Marley's publicist. I think you guys should talk. I was like, cool. I met Julian back in the day. I mean, whatever. I'm sure we have something to talk about. So this amazing woman calls me up, and she's like, we talked for like 2 hours. Julian was supposed to open for Thievery when his daughter Kavari got diagnosed with cancer.
Wow.
And he had to cancel his tour.
Yeah, that was just recent, within the last 6 months.
It's very fresh. So we start talking, me and his publicist, and she tells me like the what's been going on, because I had heard about it, but I didn't know like the details, and it was just they were just starting to let the world know about everything. So, anyways, blah, 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 talked to this woman for a couple hours. She's like, I'm going to connect you with Julian, put you on a text message. And I'm like, okay, cool. Still kind of like, wow, this is like kind of random, what's going on here. And so I'm just like, hey, thank you, Crystal, respect Julian, love to connect, tell you my story, whatever. And he hits me back right away. He's a very humble, down to earth cat. And he's like, hey, peace, Jeff, like, let's try to connect. I was in Miami the next week, put him on the list. We hung out that night. He came to the Thievery show, he got to see the show, and we got to hang out and talk. So what happened with him was, he noticed some stuff with his daughter, and he found kind of what we found was these orphan cancers that nobody really knows about don't have the funding that breast cancer and lung cancer and brain cancer and these more common cancers, and the research isn't there. And like you said, like going on and doing your own research, figuring out, like for Ross Stevie,
Right.
figuring out, hey, there's this one place, but like if time is of the essence, which with cancer it always is, and you don't have the time or the bandwidth to like take a step back and to take this approach, it can happen fast. And that's unfortunately, I don't want to speak too much on their story, but rest in peace, Kavari. It was just her birthday a couple weeks ago, and Julian went down and they had a ceremony. She's buried with her grandfather, and the rest of the family down there. And it's crazy. When I met Julian again, I told him the story of my brother, and we start talking about everything from like where you grew up to whether or not you wear deodorant or what kind of soap you use or what is going on, that where's the loophole that they're not telling us about.
So many variables.
Well, and like he said he's in Palmetto Bay, Miami, 3 kids have got cancer in his little bay.
Wow.
My mom, my mom's friend's daughter, my mom's best friend from growing up, grew up 2 houses down. Her daughter died of the same cancer that my brother died from. 2 houses down.
What are the odds?
And both give birth to kids that die of the same cancer. So it's like, are we going to dig up the earth and figure out what the hell's down there?
In the water.
That's a huge thing. But can we create awareness? Can we talk about places like Flint, Michigan, and how like this is not just a momentary thing. This is something that people are going to have to deal with down the road when they have side effects from all this stuff that's going on. And
that's the same thing with like we had Kez Namdi on the show, and we were talking, and he was like, we don't really know. We haven't seen the true effects of all this high THC cannabis. Now, I love weed, you know what I mean? But it made me think when he said that, it's like, it's really true. A lot of the morphine that we've done to get it to become what it is, and then you have the edibles, the concentrates that live side by side, when this plant created a whole barrage of cannabinoids that we've kind of just pushed aside and isolated these ones, for a profit.
And done the same thing we did with chicken.
And everything. And so, I get it, brother. I mean, that's what I've been plant-based for the last 4 years, been vegetarian for the last 11. And, it was all because I read a passage that, said, Jah says, man, it's time to eat clean. And in the same passage, which is so funny, Bob, I listened to him talk, I watched interviews, and his mind was that everybody was going to smoke weed. The lamb and the boy will sit together with the lion, they'll all eat the same, grass, and the snake will eat dust. But in my mind, I was like, oh, I got to go vegetarian. I got to be plant-based. And so that's what started me 10 years ago. So I'm thankful that that's a part of my life. But at the same time, you know, there's a lot of other things out there that, you know, sugar, salt, all those things play up such water, bro. You know, bottled water.
I mean, well, it's like, you know, when I was hanging with Julian, you know, we're talking about, and I was like, look, you know, it's a heavy thing. I mean, it's very fresh for them, and he's maintaining that, you know, he's really trying to focus on whatever can come positive out of it. And we talked the other day, and him and I are going to start working on a song, and we're going to try to get a song together with this as the subject matter, a dedication and an awareness type of thing, where we can release a song, do podcasts, get on some TV, and create awareness. What he did on Kavari's birthday was he said, hey, you know, our angel, it's her birthday, and we would, if you'd like to give a gift, we're going to donate whatever money to a school in Jamaica to help get them some supplies, some computers and stuff. So they raised money in her name and gave the money to a school in Jamaica. Similar to what I did with the dreads. You know, I said, if I can get $15,000, I'll cut my dreads. $27,000 later, I cut them, right?
Yeah.
And I gave $5,000 to an organization, Barbara Zobian, Candlelighters, and she's basically this superwoman up in Manhattan. She goes to the Ronald McDonald House, takes kids out of the treatment to the circus, to the Knicks game, to Broadway, whatever. So I was like, here's $5,000. Go take some kids somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And then I gave $22,000 for non-toxic cancer research, Band of Parents. 3 times NBC reported on my story that I was raising money for toxic cancer treatments.
Wow.
NBC, owned by the Rockefellers,
Wow.
who are, you know, the original billionaires and obviously quite influential. And I think the trickle down is real. I mean, you might think it's a conspiracy or whatever, but like if you're going to air something and you're probably going to go on the internet and look at who you're about to put on your live action TV, right?
Yeah.
Because I was going to go against Big Pharma and I was going to talk about stuff that they probably didn't want me to talk about. You know, they were going to sit with me in my neighborhood in D.C. and we were going to talk about my story, and it was going to raise awareness about maybe we could get $50,000 that I could, maybe we get $100 that I can get. Anyways, Julian works independently and his family does stuff like that. He also works with a thing called Canna Kids, and I work with Band of Parents. Mm-hmm. And Band of Parents is the one that my mom started with her friends. And our goal is we both agree that our tool and our resource is music. That's our strongest
weapon.
Without using the term weapon.
Sorry.
But no, it is. I just didn't want to say it at that moment because it's kind of an odd feeling when
you don't want to fight down.
Like,
with
how great
negativity.
is it? How great is it that you know, I can collaborate with Julian Marley? However, I would give that up in a heartbeat to still have Kavari and Nick around and everybody else that's gone through. It's not like it's a very bittersweet thing.
Yeah, I guess I should have said tool would be a better word.
A tool, a resource, you know, but it is a weapon, you know, but I'm trying to keep, you know, those words. Sometimes if you use those words, you won't get the response that you need, you know, and, you know, fella, music is a weapon. I totally get it, you know. But I think, you know, there's broader metaphor.
Well, there's different tools for different tasks,
right? And we're trying to create awareness and raise questions.
Yeah. No, that's great, man. I think that's awesome. I think if you know, I don't know much about getting people organized to help with things like that, but I do think if that could be attached to, like you're saying, a program or someone that's donating, like, you know, like the projects that you're talking about, I think that'd be awesome. If
donating projects, I think is a great idea.
They get backed it, they back it, and then you can get, like, hopefully the hospitals or some, you know, like a grassroots kind of thing. To really
or say we went to. You know, say we went and there was an event and we performed 3 songs, acoustic or something, you know, where there's a donor event.
Yep.
And we could say, look, when I went to Sloan Kettering, where my brother got treatment, That's where Julian's father got treatment. When I met Julian, I said, hey, part of what helped me get through what I went through with my brother was knowing that he was in the same building with your father.
Yeah.
And as somebody who is a reggae head and has been fully influenced by the message and by the spirituality of reggae, that was something that gave me strength. And I said to him, this is what we can do for other people as well as raise awareness. We can let people know about our story. Just by letting them know gives people that are going to have to deal with the same shit a little bit of just like camaraderie, or like, I'm not the only one, or here's what they did, here's what they wish they could have done. How do we learn from all this together? Yep. It's a Netflix documentary on right now that I haven't watched, but looks very interesting, called Diagnosis. And it's basically about how social media has created communities for people with symptoms that nobody have ever seen before.
Wow.
And they're getting together, and these people that think they're the only ones. Every doctor said, there's nothing I can do for you. I don't know what the hell this is. Get on this network, and then people are like, I have the same thing. I'm in Norway. You're in, Seattle. Let's talk. Let's get together and see what's going on with our genes. Let's see what's going on with our DNA, because we have the same thing.
What do you think about not to cut you off, but what do you think about the whole DNA, mapping and finding that out and doing those? Because I like talked to my mom, and I was like, yeah, Mom, it'd be cool to do it, like the African ancestry. They focus on your grandma, your grandma's mom, like all the way.
Have you done your ancestry?
On the mother side, but like the 21andMe or whatever focuses on everything. And the guy, no, I haven't done it. A guy I work with has done it, and he told me all the things that he was.
Is your mom black?
Yeah.
And your dad?
My dad's Scottish. So
Scottish.
Yeah.
But hence the locks.
Yes, hence the locks.
You know about the Scottish locks.
Yeah.
Not the lakes. They call it a lock. But no, it's interesting is I went to New Zealand. This is way off subject. I'm sorry, but I'm just we're just going on a stream of consciousness here. Went to New Zealand. When I landed, the girl who was bringing us weed was also driving back to her home, where we were then playing 2 days later.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, so you mean you're just going right to where we're going to play? And she was like, yeah. I was like, so you're driving across New Zealand? She's like, yeah. I was like, can I come with you and meet the band in 2 days? So me and Hash went with her. And we ended up on the beach. There's actually one of my favorite Facebook videos I've ever put out. She taught me a song on ukulele.
Okay.
And, we're smoking joints in the coast of New Zealand and whatever. And I learned the song, and she sings it, and it's just within 15 minutes we have this little song, and she's in music school at the time, and anyways, she tells me the story of how the first white people that came to New Zealand were Scottish.
Okay.
And they were Scottish.
Weren't they prisoners or whatever? Is that
no? This is way back. This is like in boats. Okay. Like explorers,
okay.
People seeking freedom,
yeah.
People leaving Scotland for whatever reason, exploring, and they were accepted by the Maori because they came and they were like, we're not here to bring our culture. We want to learn about your culture. We want to be immersed in your culture.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay. They were like, cool. So the Scottish were the first to come. Then the British came with their imperial colonial mentality.
Gotcha.
And,
enslaved them for sure.
Well, yeah, and mass genocide and complete. New Zealand is known very much for reparations and helping the indigenous people there, as opposed to their neighbors, Australia. But nonetheless, the book is written. You can't change the past.
Yep.
So anyways, it's just interesting to see, going back to the DNA and the ancestry thing. It's like, so your father's Scottish, your mother has African heritage. Oh, I'm a drummer, by the way.
Yeah.
So have you done the the ancestry with your mom?
No, we were just recently talking about it in the last month, but I thought that would be interesting. But
is she interested in it?
She was like, "You do it, I'll pay for it." It was kind of like her attitude. She was like, because I wanted her to do it.
I did it.
Do you did it?
Yeah.
What did you find out? What do you want to share?
No, I mean, I have, my mom is more of the region that your father's from. She's British, Irish, Anglo-Saxon, if you will, and my dad is basically a Mediterranean mutt, sure. And big ups to my ancestors for somehow I have 1% Benin Togo.
Wow.
Which is a very rhythmically rich region. So the Benin, the Fon tribe from Benin, they ended up in Haiti. Okay. So Haitian rhythms and Haitian music is derivative of Benin Togo. Wow. And I don't know if you know about Haitian music and Haiti in general, but that shit is wild.
Yeah, it's super wild.
It's just wild. Warriors. Because what happened in Haiti was they won their revolution and they set the stage for the revolutions when the French could not control their colony and they lost it. That everybody thought that they could do it. So Jamaica revolution. The Maroons up in Maroontown, up in Nanny Falls, they kept their independence, but it was just one region of Jamaica, just the Maroons. Yeah. And there's cabildos in Cuba where people could still practice African traditions and keep their cultures preserved. And probably what helped that, going into the age of civil rights and all this, where things could have gotten worse for completely whitewashing, culture, was the fact that Cuba and the United States were enemies.
Clashing. Yeah, it's interesting.
So there was more of like Cuba had a chance to, and the whole reason you go down there and everything is pristine 1950s, 1960s is because that's the last time they were ever importing stuff, and they had to keep their shit clean and nice and up to date because nobody would send stuff to them. It's fascinating. But anyways, New Orleans, Congo Square. These are places where African cultures were preserved. And Haiti and the Fon people from Benin Togo have just wild old rhythms.
What's the Benin Togo? What's the instrument primarily, or the sound? Would you say everything? Or
drums and vocals. I mean, drums, dance, and vocals. That's really the root of when I think of the African diasporatic music. The main thing before the adaptation of high life and the influence of funk and jazz on Africa, and then going back, and when before there was and this is more the traditional ancient tribal music. Each tribe has their region and their dance and whatever. But when you study African music, there's basically drums and dance, or then you have just band, like more pop stuff. But drums and dances, I mean, that's just the foundation of African music, And so Gaga is one of the rhythms, and it's a very round rhythm. It's very fast. It instead of bop 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 boom like every dance hall rhythm, right? Yeah. That's the tempo. But in Haiti, it's
super fast.
And it's just like this very Africanized version of what has been slowed down with ganja and with the Caribbean latitudes and longitudes and gravity and everything, and that rhythm, Gaga, from Haiti, which is then from Benin Togo, is just a very raw version, natural, unchanged.
How many instruments do you play?
A lot. I play drums. I play percussion. I wouldn't say I'm a djembe player because to me that's like a specialty thing. I'm not like a drum circle kind of guy.
But you could probably do it.
I mean, I could hold a pattern, and I know the lingo. I know some of the lingo, but a djembe player is a djembe player. You don't ask a djembe player to sit down and play drum set.
Yeah. Gotcha.
You don't ask a tabla player to sit down and play drum set. Like tabla and djembe and doumbek. Like there's a lot of instruments that's just that instrument, you know. As a percussionist, you're kind of asked, especially in Western music, to play all the instruments, and then, oh, you're in the orchestra. I'm playing a doumbek pattern, you know, and it's very square, and it has nothing to do with the culture. It doesn't really manifest the spirit that the drum is for, right? Yeah. Every drum has a spirit. But what I have studied is more of that Afro-Caribbean stuff. Soca. I play congas. I play rumba. I play bata. That's what I've played traditionally, as far as like African, Afro-Cuban, Afro-Puerto Rican, Afro-Haitian, you know, Afro-Peruvian, Afro-Colombian. All that stuff is mainly conga based as far as the hand drums, congas and bongos. And I'll take a gig in a salsa band and be fine. Yeah, I won't take a gig on djembe and they'll be like, okay, you know, you can hold the pattern, but you're not the lead. You know, like I could play timbales, I can play all that stuff. Like Afro-Cuban, Afro-Latin is more of my thing. And then I play bass and keys, guitar. You know, I produce all the music that Congo Sanchez put out, and this new project Ethno, and you know, Ethno's a thing. It's funny because it's just, you know, coming up with a name for a new project and all this, and like I kind of wanted, you know, I wanted to continue to represent what really makes me who I am as a musician. And it is the fact that when I started learning about the African diasporatic music in the Caribbean, I found myself as a musician. It found me, you know, my spirit. I know I've never sat with a santo and actually figured it out, but what I feel most is Elegua and Yemaya. Those are the two that naturally I could just play and sing the call and response. I used to play for classes, so like I would play the pattern adapted to congas from the bata. I would sing, they would dance and call and response. I worked with this amazing teacher, Jim Lepore. When I graduated college, I went back to DC because my brother was sick. Last 2 years of college, he was getting treatment. I was flying to New York once a month to be with him and to help my mom, but I probably could have helped my mom way more. I was kind of just going out into New York and checking out all my favorite jazz musicians, taking lessons with cats, and then getting, you know, too drunk and then just sleeping while my brother's sleeping. My mom's like, while he's sleeping, you need to help me out. I'm like, well, Mom. You're like, all right, I will. And just loser college kid, you know what I mean? Got arrested in New York too, fucking smoking a joint. Wow. My mom, she's like, I call her at 8 a.m. when I'm getting out of the fucking cell. And she's like, where the hell are you? I'm like, just getting out of jail. I'll be back to the Ronald McDonald House shortly. I'm in a cab, you know what I mean? It's like such a dork. But either way, yeah, you know, moving back there was my calling because I didn't care about anything but spending as much time with my brother as I could. In life, when you have an obvious direction, it's almost easier to make decisions, you know? Yeah. If your commitment's there. Yeah. There's no question. I'm going to be with my bro, whatever it is. So as a musician, I'll figure it out. Figure out the scene. And my best friend's mom and my brother's best friend's mom, so my brother, best friend, his brother, we're two brothers' best friends, right? Grew up together. She is an amazing modern dance, pretty much pioneer. And she was in the 60s with Laura Dean and, you know, Paul Taylor and just all these amazing choreographers, Mark Morris. And she runs the dance department at George Mason University, where Jim teaches Afro-Cuban, and where my African mom, Kukawa, taught African dance. So I ended up playing traditional Ghanaian and Senegalese music on drum set for dance classes, and traditional Cuban music and Haitian, and pretty much Cuba and Haiti, where we didn't do much Trini, we didn't do much, basically Cuba and Haiti, basically West African diasporatic. Okay. And roots diasporatic, like African dance. Talking, Ned Sublett is a famous ethnomusicologist who studied these places where, like New Orleans, like Cuba, where all these places where African culture was preserved. And Jim, I got to be in his class 2 semesters a year for for about 5 years.
Okay.
And that is just probably the biggest blessing outside of every musical resource that I've sought out as a learning experience. And having that in my DNA and having that in my,
it's definitely
my influence was just amazing. You got 40 kids that are when I was in college, I was a music major. So it was like, I took one class a semester that was my general education class, and most of the time I dropped it and took it over the summer because it was just easier because I was so busy with music. Like I was in school from 8 to midnight every day, rehearsals. If you're a drummer, you got to do orchestra, this, that, like everybody needs a thing, right?
Yeah.
So anyways, outside of that, like the education was just unmatched. And I feel as though when you experience things in life, if you can't disregard your path, that's kind of now, that's who I am. Push came to shove. My brother ended up passing. A month later, I was in Thievery Corporation. So it was a time in life where my choice was obvious what to do. And maybe I could have made the wrong choice and gone and done something different. Maybe it would have worked out. I don't know, but there was no way I was not going to try to be with my brother for as long as possible. So then all of a sudden I get in a band that tours the world. I get a record deal with ESL. I have all this stuff going on. And you just, like Julian said when we're talking, it's like you got to try to find the positives.
Yeah.
You got to try to find the positives when this shit goes down like this, And looking back, it's like, I went because my brother was sick so many places to be with him. And as I am who I am, wherever I go, I got to find the local culture, right? Whether it's New York or DC or this or that. And it's just been one long learning experience. Now, Thievery's taking a year off next year. And I have, once again, my options open, but not so much an obvious choice. I have Congo Sanchez, which is 3 people. Hiley's doing his thing. Flex is doing his thing, and I'm doing my thing. And I'm kind of going into survival mode because my full income pretty much is off the table next year. And so it's like, all right, what are my tools?
Yeah.
What can I plant? What can I reap? What can I sow, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, as a producer, there is a market for what I love as instrumental music as well.
Yeah.
And I've grappled, I've felt bad, I've lost sleep over thinking, even fathoming starting a new project and not focusing all my energy on Congo Sanchez. But I needed to do it. I needed something new. Hiley and Flex, I love them. They're my brothers. We've done things you couldn't imagine together. But not every song I write, they feel. I'll write an hour's worth of music and they'll be like, that's not really my thing. But I'm super into this thing, but then they're not into it. And I'm like, instead of me getting discouraged, I'm like, look, that's cool. I'm not trying to make you like something you don't like. But I'm also not trying to shut out a part of me that I love. Yeah. Because all my eggs are in this basket.
I think with that dynamic, and I'm from the outside looking in, that they have a voice, as MCs and as singers, that they have that voice that they're being heard all the time. The beat, obviously, the rhythm's always being heard, but the person making it isn't like marketing it like the same way, like,
right?
Up front, it's. I don't know how to say it.
Well, no, and these guys know this, like, because I've sat and I've talked about wanting to create more dynamics in the show, because you've seen our show. It's like those two are just back and forth, boom, 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 boom. And that for about 45 minutes, that's incredible. Then for the next 15, I would like to space it out. Yeah. And I'd like to do some instrumental stuff. Yeah. And we got to the point where we could, but like, I'm almost like maybe 45 minutes is as long as Congo needs to be playing, and we're just like a punk, hip-hop, electronic thing, smash, grab, bang, out of town. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for me to be able to write 2.5 hours of music where I'm in my head, I'm not thinking, what do they want?
It's like that Iodo following, almost, that sense of like 2 guys go out there, don't say a word, and just crush it with instruments.
And that's what, and I'm not even trying to have instruments. I'm just literally showing up with my thumb drives and saying, look, I am the Beethoven. These zeros and ones, these binary digital signals are my orchestra, and I've composed this music, and the sound system is my,
playground,
is my instrument.
Yeah.
And I don't see why I can't. Just because I can do other things doesn't mean that I have to do them.
Yeah.
And the whole thing that's kind of helped me is, one, when we played that show together in DC, it was just, my heart was exploding with joy because they're my brothers, But it's a thing where I'm like, look, I got to kind of try to survive, not to mention Congo has a thing, and that thing, it's not like all of a sudden we were getting $100,000 a gig and everybody wanted us everywhere. And I'm not saying if we put in more work that won't happen, but maybe it would be cool if my new thing got a little bit of attention and I got a team and I'm like, hey team, guess what? I got this
kind
other thing.
Balance.
Yeah, just kind of pull them up a little bit,
you
know? And because it's easier for me to sit and create something that I also believe in without having to send things back and forth and, I'm not feeling this. And like, the best thing I realize with those guys is when they already have songs that are done, it's to create material. The best way we found is for me to remix a song that they've already worked on. Because when we were in DC and Hailey was younger and, we were all younger and less, distracted, we could get together and really hash out little things. And the first record is that, but the first record is also like a compilation of sounds and influences from my whole life. It's kind of all over the place, you know what I mean, artistically, which is what I wanted to present. But now I'm like, look, I have this one thing, and I think the one thing needs to be the thing for a while.
Yeah.
And let's focus on that.
Feed that fire.
Let's feed that, and it's feeding me. Like I can sit and I can write a song every day right now.
Yeah.
No,
I feel that's, in a sense, on a smaller scale, that's how I feel about this podcast. Like, I've been doing the weed thing for so long, and just to be able to sit in here and come in and do something different and talk to you and talk to other heads and just get a better perspective on what I'm doing and what makes me feel good versus growing weed for someone else. For not to say I don't like doing it, but it's that passion that's gotten me so far and keeping my name well, keeping a good reputation, and people start calling you a legend. You start questioning yourself. Well, does that mean I'm phasing out now? You know what I mean? That's kind of what it's like when people say like Colorado legend. I'm like, legend. What does that mean? It's I appreciate it, and I'm humbled that somebody would consider me that or whatever. And I've paid the dues to get as far as I can in this weed business, and at the same time, it's like I need to feed the passion needs to go somewhere else. I used to mess with music and MC and then, do graffiti, and then went into breakdancing, and then got into growing weed because it was paying the bills, you know what I mean? So all those things I was so passionate about, and I don't want to lose that passion. And like having this is what I'm learning from it is from talking to you and talking to other people, is that everybody's coming at it a different angle. We all got passion, and we all want to like keep feeding that. And you can't get, at least we don't want to get discouraged. And it's like, how can you continue to do that as we get older and it benefit us, versus like a lot of the stuff when we're younger, we're feeding all this energy and it's going to someone else, or it's providing for someone else. And then all of a sudden we hit an age, and then you're like, well, wait a minute, I got to take care of myself. And,
hence, 9 years with Thievery Corporation. I've been with them for 9 years, and I'm at the whim of their interest. If they're interested in doing it, I do it. If they're not, I don't, because it's their thing.
Yeah.
And I've grappled over the years with like, maybe I need to stop doing Thievery Corporation and just do my own thing. And people were always like, look, man, while they're doing it, you should do it.
Now, do you feel like that you're a little hesitant because of how big you've gotten with them, or how much you've grown, I should say, with them?
I'm hesitant what? To jump ship?
Just to be like, hey, I'm not going to do this with you guys anymore, and not be an option on the table for them, you know what I mean? Like,
no, I think the hesitation was, and I don't even know if it was a hesitation. I just think the realization was, music is like relationships. Anything is like relationships. If you are gonna have a girl, but then go here, I got this girl. Go here, I got this girl. You're never gonna get deep enough with one person to really feel what there might be to feel with one person. Thievery, if I was always just surf it up, man, I just show up and play the drums. That's all I do, And then if I had that mentality, I don't think I'd have the mentality that I'm also going to start another band and tour that in every waking moment that I'm not doing Thievery. It's like the mentality that I have is like, if I'm doing something, I'm going to give you my full effort. And now, 9 years in, I've taken almost a musical director role with Thievery. I'm involved in writing the set list. I'm involved in recreating old songs that we have never been able to perform. Wow. I'm involved. I curated a new acoustic part of the set, and they've taken my ability and my suggestions over time, and we're growing. And partly because of me. Because I'm actually taking the time to do it, because I'm like, I can't be around something that has the potential to shine and watch it tarnish. Yeah. And when you do the same set for 5 years and your friends start saying, hey, I can't make the show. Like, are you playing anything different? You know what I mean? I'm like, I can't look at my boss and be like, boss, I'm not going to tell you this. No, I'm going to fucking tell you. We got to do something, because you have a huge catalog and we're not even touching it. So let's get in. And so the last 2-3 years, numbers are going up. The attendance is going up. Sound is changing a little too. I guarantee you, if you ask anybody what their favorite Thievery show was that saw the show this year and has seen shows in the years past, they'll say what they're doing right now is my favorite show. It's what everybody's been saying, and it's because it's dynamic. We're playing acoustic songs without even no DJ. Rob Garza's playing guitar, no tracks. And the songs, the rest of the songs, we have medleys with old songs meeting new songs and things that aren't stopping. And it's all just because I was like, look, here's an idea. You want to try this? Cool. And Garza, luckily, is open to it. Nice. And so we've really adapted. And like the thing with Ethno is like, going back to what you're saying, is like sometimes the best way you can learn about about yourself and about like what to do is to hear yourself talk about it. Like when you teach music and you tell your kids, you have to, like, you gotta use your metronome. You gotta try this. Like, you're missing this one part. And then you think, you're like, am I practicing what I preach? Yeah. Am I using my metronome? Like you think about that. When you teach, it's like, it just innately happens. It's inevitable. And going to do a podcast and talking about things that you've thought about but never talked about, just hearing them in the air lets you reflect more. Yeah. And you can grow from that. And I think that's necessary. Like, when I was talking with Julian, it's like, I'm kind of sitting there thinking like, why does this guy want to do something with me? I get it. Like, it's kind of cosmic, that all the weird connections and that we are now, in touch and we're trying to do something positive together. And that's just the wrong thought. The thought is always, we are here. And what he said was like, because we've been bouncing stuff off each other, and I was like, well, this is what helped me when I thought about eternal spirit and immortality. This is where I was at. And he's like, here's where I'm at, with Rasta and all this. And I'm like, I'm with you. And basically he's like, look, we don't do ourselves a service by sitting here and sitting on our hands. Yeah. He's like, he actually hit me up and was like, he's like, yo, like, he's like, if you have an idea, just call me. He's like, let's just talk. Because he's like, we're still here for a reason. And he's like, if we don't figure that reason out and act on it, then why are we even here? Yeah, no, you touched on something I was just thinking like yesterday, at all the friends that I've lost and all the people in my life that aren't around and all the relationships that have changed. And I've gotten to a point where I'm like, well, I'm here for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, all these people who didn't make it for whatever reason, I'm here for a reason. And you're here for them. Yeah, and I have to put that up front and keep pushing that narrative forward, that I'm working for them and to make a mark, to let them, so their memory isn't tarnished or tainted or forgotten, you know what I mean? And if you have that in you, and it's a responsibility. It's also a burden, but it's a responsibility. And because we were talking about the one drop, and I'm like, look, man, not everybody feels the one drop. I'm talking about drummers.
Yeah.
A lot of drummers sit down and play reggae, and they're like, oh, it's slow, and it's the beat's backwards, and they don't get it. And Julian says, one drop is a beat from the ghetto. And he's like, if you don't feel any pain or suffering, you can't play the one drop. He's like, so if you want to play the one drop and you have nothing a little hurt or suffering,
you make it shine.
He's like, you got to think about somebody that does when you play it.
Yeah.
Because it's, and it's just,
it's a good way
and
to
the proof is
look
in the pudding, because, when I was going through, the most tumultuous time of my life, any phone call could have been the worst news ever. I was afraid when my phone would ring when my brother was sick, just like shit like that. And I got real good at the one drop. You know what I'm saying? It came to me, and so
make it shine. You become proud about those things.
You got it, and it's, and like we said, if you got the one drop in you, you owe it to yourself to play reggae.
Yeah, brother.
You owe it to the world to keep that rhythm is coming through you, through the universe, and if you don't share it, you don't
recirculate.
You don't want the spirits to be shaking their finger at you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's beautiful, bro. Well, we went an hour and 15. I got another interview coming up here in a little bit, but I don't want to cut you short.
What about Ethno?
Ethno. Yeah, no, that's what I was going to say.
We got to plug the new project.
I was like, you got to plug all the projects.
I'll come spin a set on Blood Pressure's show.
Yeah, come let us know where can we find it? What's the links? Where platforms?
Ethno is, and I kind of started touching on it, but Ethno is my new project. It's a producer set. It's all original music that I have used. Some samples, and I've been using this website Splice, which I love to death.
Okay.
We can have a whole nother talk about my philosophy behind where music is at, but you can go on there and you can find like a kick drum you like, or a little melody or something, and I've been really inspired to have that as part of my thing, to the point where I've been writing a lot of music. Anyways, all the things you've heard me talk about, my world music influence, my travels with Thievery, all this stuff has been heavily influential on me. And you can, just like in Congo, you can hear it in this music, the rhythms. The response I'm getting from these crowds is like, I didn't even know white people could move like that.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
You know what I mean? I'm playing for these, like, I'm in Portland, I'm watching these chicks too. I'm like, damn, where'd you learn that shit? You know what I mean? Like some granola ass shit.
Bring it up.
Like she left the granola at home tonight. You know what I'm saying?
Bringing that culture out.
Yeah, but it's a rhythm thing, and everything right now is at 150 BPM. If you think about it, 150 BPM is 2.5 beats per second. Right?
Yeah.
Everything, all the magic in the world lies between 2 and 3. Everything after 3 is a repeat. 2 plus 2 is 4.
Yeah.
Right? You can't get 3 by adding 2 of the same number together. It's the last number
before everything.
1 plus 1 equals 2. 1 plus 2 equals 3. That's a numerical sequence. In the Fibonacci sequence, 3 is the jump off. Gotcha. 1 plus 1 equals 2. 1 plus 2 equals 3. 2 plus 3 equals 5. So like the big jump off is 3, right? Yeah. In numerical. All my EQs are all EQ'd in a multiple of 3. So I won't leave an EQ with like, I won't leave an EQ at 64 hertz. I'll leave it at 60 or 63. 66 or 69.
Gotcha.
Just because
right on that 3.
Just because the whole thing, and like that's part of my philosophy behind it. But either way, we can get more into that in a whole nother talk, but it seems as though that rhythm is very, very rooted in us, because the tempo, people are like literally just bouncing the whole time.
Yeah, like the little clips that I heard before I came here, it has a real like global sound.
And so the handle is Ethno Global. If you want to check it out, it's on Instagram, Ethno Global. I'll be releasing music starting spring next year. Probably 420 will be my first. 420, I think I'm playing here in Denver on drums with Nightmares on Wax. He's touring his first record, 25th anniversary, Smoker's Delight. And not fully confirmed, but I think I'm playing drums on that tour. Okay. And if I don't open the show with Ethno, I'll do an after party because it'll be 420, and I think that's probably a good time to release my first track.
Oh yeah.
So I'll be in town, and like I said, it's the first time I've fully felt free and autonomous from anything. It's me. It's what I want to do, and it's what I, there's nobody. I don't have to bounce anything off anybody. Except myself. And my girl in the next room was like, "You've been playing the same beat for 9 hours." I'm like, "It's not the same. I changed one thing. Dude, it took me 4 hours to realize what to change, And then I had to listen to it for another 4 to make sure I didn't want to put it back.
You're like on repeat all day.
No, but
no, that's beautiful, brother. And
that's what's happening. And when it comes out, we'll come in. We'll do some radio stuff.
Yeah, feel free. This open space. I want you to use this as a platform and be able to.
I'm always tuned into KGNU, baby.
Yeah,
always.
There you go, getting it out there. So. Yeah, man. Give thanks for coming in. I love you, brother. I appreciate you coming.
Likewise, man. Love you too.
Yeah, man. So
big respect, blood pressure.
Enough love.
Yeah. So,
yeah, man.
Nice to meet you.
And I'll anytime, man. Like when you were like, "Oh yeah, we'll do an hour." I'm like, man, these things never stop at an hour.
That's good. That's good. I picked the right person.
I love it. I'll go forever, man. It's just there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, that's good, man. And that's why that's why I call it Wear the Crown, is because I feel like it's highlighting people and their achievements and a king in their own kingdom, governing and making things run and trying to be honorable, bro, and helpful and bright. So.
Yes, yene kanjoma sanganalo wedishelo.
Yeah, man. Yes, I. Cool. Well, this is Wear the Crown. Please check out the Rasta Raleigh rolling papers that are available on NagooseOrderCO.com. Also, check out my man Blood Pressure and his sets at KGNU here twice a month. Is that right, bro?
Yes, Wednesday nights 10 to 12 and Sundays 10 to 12 and Mountain Standard Time.
Bless up. And Congo, one more time, if you can give a plug on, or I'm Jeffrey. Sorry.
Congo, Jeffrey.
Yeah. Come on.
Good. We're metamorphing back to the original. But yeah, so check out Ethno on Instagram at Ethno Global. You can hear some snippets there. And always check out Congo Sanchez, Flex Matthews, Highly Supreme.
Yes, sir.
My boys doing their thing. Thievery Corporation will be at the Fillmore on December 20th, Belly Up, 18th, 19th here in Colorado. And thank you for having me, man. It's great to see you again.
Appreciate it, brother.
Awesome.
One love.